walked for days, always looking over my shoulder. I only stopped when I couldn't bear to walk anymore. I was exhausted from walking. I was exhausted from fear. Days and weeks passed. I found a house with a small motley group of people hiding inside. We lived there, if you could call it living, for countless days. No one could remember how many nights we looked out the windows to the blinding terror.
Everything's been harder since Campbell died, and it's driving me crazy. There wasn't anything to be done, though. There wasn't anything to be done once he'd hit the ground. For 4 days, he'd grind his teeth and sob and piss himself. After that, he slept. Campbell woke up almost a week later. He was delirious and feverish, and still in pain. I did the only thing a friend could do. And the next night, the lights were gone.
One night it was just gone. No one knew when it left or how. The sky was clear. I didn't sleep for days after that, waiting for them to return.
I made my way back to the truck. There was a bottle of water still underneath the passenger seat that we'd missed somehow, and a box with a few 9mm rounds still left in it. There was some gas left in the tank, a little bit, but the battery was dead, so I walked.
The streets were silent, still. I haunted buildings, alleys, the shell of my own home. I was a restless spirit that just couldn't leave the remains of a previous life, lay down and die like the others, go into the light.
The convenience store had been looted of all the essentials. The aisles had been mostly cleared of anything even remotely useful, but I was able to grab some bandages and a bottle of peroxide that had been overlooked. There were a couple of bags of barbecue potato chips left that I also took. I hate barbecue potato chips. The cooler was warm and smelled kind of like mildew, but all the way in the back on the bottom shelf was a can of Dr. Pepper. It was warm, almost hot, and it seemed almost unbearably sweet, but I savored every bit of it.
When I went back to my house, everything was exactly like I had left it. My fish had died. My pantries were full of rotting food and dust on everything. It was exactly like I left it, but it was nothing like I remembered.
When I was a kid, my dad worked for a large church. Sometimes I'd be there with him long after everyone else had left. The hallways were so big and empty, almost like you could feel the empty. The sanctuary felt dangerous too, like something was watching, like it was watching. And once I got lost in a hospital and ended up in an abandoned wing of the building, and it felt just like that. I think there are places that have a purpose, and that purpose gives them life. They're just like people that way. When that purpose is taken away, they become twisted and warped, and they just feel wrong.
What was I living for here? But I guess, what did I live for before? I spent my countless days in the woods trying to remember. I was a drone. Thousands of people, living on top of one another, went through the motions and lived the same lives, experience dictated to us through TV laced with laugh tracks. All of us together, all of us alone, looking at one another like complete strangers. Now we're alive. What a horrible feeling. I could go anywhere. I could do anything. I could look any person in the face and know that we have this shared moment. I know these streets, these buildings. Nothing has changed, I know that. Now that the sunlight shines again on these streets, I'll never see them the same.
It's been 3 months. I lose count of days sometimes, but they don't just slip by like they used to. Every day is significant. And at night I feel like I can hear everything. I've moved pretty far into the city, but I'm starting to hear the coyotes and mountain lions again. The city's just becoming another part of the wilderness. I need to keep moving.